This is Derek Dillinger, the AIW Intense Champion. I have a whole bunch of other monikers, the Neon Tarantino, the Ace Degenerate, I think I said it, I don't know if I said it, Ace Degenerate, Super Indy Scorsese, the Ace of the Intense Division, and you're listening to Wrestling Chairs.
Taking your way in the world today takes everything you got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to get away? Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You want to go where you can see that troubles are all the same. You want to go where everybody knows your name.
And welcome back to Wrestling Cheers, where everybody knows your name, especially when you can't read and can't write. This is Wrestling Cheers. We like to talk about things going on Northeast Ohio independent wrestling scene. We preview shows, we review shows, and sometimes we have interviews along the way. This is a review of AIW's Wasted Youth. I'm your host, Justin Summers, and Wrestling Cheers is brought to you by Midwest Territory. Please rate, review, and subscribe your ever listen to this fine podcast, whether it be Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Amazon Music, or Podbean, WrestlingCheers.podbean.com. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, Facebook.com/WrestlingCheers, Twitter.com/WrestlingCheers, and Instagram.com/WrestlingCheers. Email, if you so choose to desire, WrestlingCheers@gmail.com. Like I said, this is a review of AIW's Wasted Youth that was live in Kent, Ohio. Already introduced myself, and this week we got Butters.
What's up?
Yeah, so we had Wasted Youth. Kind of like get into the nitty gritty here of the episode. No, there were no meet and greets, so that's nothing that we can talk about. Nothing. There was a guy walking around that looked awful like Kevin Koo. Didn't know he had a doppelganger that lived in Ohio, but I thought that was kind of cool. Other than that, what did you think about the inside of this venue? Because you didn't even do you weren't at the outdoor show.
Correct, I was not. Indoor was fine. Obviously it sucks that the ceiling is so low. That definitely hinders some things, but other than that, it's fine.
We should have had a count of how many wrestlers got on the turnbuckle and got like really close to the air duct.
There was at least one in every match when they came out. I mean, they whipped themselves up onto the second rope, and so many of them were so close to just bonking their heads off the ceiling.
Actually, I think it was even within the first match, before the first match, I should say, there was a hole there in the air duct, and technically they could have threw something up there and, used it later in the match, but it wasn't used, but I thought that was kind of something I just didn't notice at first. I will say this about the venue that, number one, reception is shitty, and that's something that I did forget because we did do the one show back in September, but that was outdoors, so like, since you're outdoors, like reception is great, but anytime that I've gone to a concert that's been indoors, like my reception is just god awful. And like, I don't even really bother with my phone. So doing the live tweeting stuff, instead of like trying to force tweets to go out, I just did it to where I would save drafts for every match. And then I went out at intermission and then at the end of the show and sent out like all the tweets for anybody who wasn't watching on FITE Plus. So that's one thing. The second thing is, I know when we got there, like, it wasn't this, regular AIW show feel where there's like a line waiting outside and, everybody's, filing in there and, it's a decent sized crowd. Like, kind of to begin with, like, it seemed like maybe 20 people. But within the hour of when the doors opened to when the show started, more people started coming in, and especially like probably a little bit after the first match too, or after the first match had started. Like, next thing I knew, like by the time we got to intermission, there was just a ton of people there. So that was like one cool thing that to just watch it fill up, because I've rarely seen that in AIW, or at least outside of like certain circumstances where there's not a lot of people there. But by the time the first match starts, there's just a ton of people. I think it's just those people that are either walk-ups or, they just looked at it as like, oh, it's general admission, I'll get there whenever. Anything to add to that?
No, not really. I mean, that was just pretty much it. Like, it was like you said, it was very few people when we first got there, and so like we kind of wandered around, and I was talking to some of the new guys and kind of catching up with them and that kind of stuff, like kind of making plans for the fresh meat shows. So overall, it was a good time.
Yeah. Talked to a couple people, talked to Shaw, talked to Sam at intermission, talked to the Bitcoin boys, picked up a Bitcoin boy t-shirt, because I had made a comment online that there were two shirts at their Brainbuster store that I was thinking about getting. One was the Wolf of Wall Street one, and I forget what the other one was. And it turns out they actually had 3X in the Wolf of Wall Street one, like already in hand. So it's like, all right, cool. Like, I'll buy it off of you when I see you next. Actually, they just told me they had, or it was Eric had to double check, but turns out they did have it, picked it up off them. And that was the only thing I bought that night. Now I'm wearing the shirt right now.
Yeah, I want to get the Fuck Bitcoin shirt, but I got to wait for them to put it up on their Brainbuster Tees store.
Yeah. There's an older shirt of theirs I think I want to, but I can't remember. I have to like go through some tweets or go through the website and figure out what they are, but eventually I'll buy them. But now that I have one, like that'll do me good for a little bit. Yeah, like with this, there was no, like I said, no meet and greet, no nothing like that, but this is the first AIW show of 2023. Also with it, this is kind of a, Winchester-ish show. Pretty much everybody on the card was AIW regular except for two. And
oh man, I totally forgot pre-show. I got my every show photo with Patty.
Okay.
Which is always good. And also I bought 2 bags of Kaplan jerky, which if you go to an AIW show that Kaplan's on, or any show that Kaplan's on, make sure you get some jerky off of him because it's awesome. I just had some again today.
I did not buy that off of him this time. I need to. The thing is, like, a lot of times I just don't have cash on me. So
my man takes PayPal, and I have his PayPal saved, and here you go, sir.
We also were in a place of shitty reception to where that would have been extra harder for me. But I could probably do something in Akron. It could wind up like, what was it, Absolution or something where
he sold out before he got in the venue. Yeah.
Which, that was some good shit. So yeah, I kind of wanted to buy more. I did get a picture with Patty. She also complimented me on the show and like basically said that she likes that we would have like these kind of like predictions of things that we think that like, Biggins would like and all that kind of stuff. And one thing I said is just like, I think he's somebody that, for some of us who have been around for a long time, like he's impacted us one way or another. And a lot of us still think about him, especially like the success of in between AIW and people who have been through AIW. Like, I think he would be absolutely ecstatic about. So it's like, it's just one of those things I always constantly think of, even with, and I know I've said it before too, say what you want about Myers and Cardona, but fucking Biggins would be a huge fan of them. Like everything that they do with the figure, basically because of the figures and everything. Cause he was so big on that. Like, it's crazy to think that I remember a time when, Biggins was selling Hasbros and LJNs, like at the gimmick table, and they weren't like crazy expensive. But yeah, I think that covers a lot of the pre-show stuff and a little bit of intermission. But yeah, kind of a straightforward show of it being, $20 general admission. There were seats, which is something like, I don't know if it's new to the Outpost. Like, I'd been to a few concerts throughout the years prior to COVID, to where there was like no like places to sit. Like, I think they might have the stuff towards the back, like those booths, but at the end of the day, it was just, it was like standing room only. Like, I went to 2 ICP shows. I went to a couple local band shows there, and yeah, there was just, it was standing everywhere. So when we went this year for AIW, I saw that there were chairs inside, as well as, some picnic tables, I should say, outside, because the outside part is fairly new. And then I went to see a Metallica cover band twice last year. One was outside, one was inside, and like there were chairs both times. And I'm just like, oh, that's different. I wonder what they'll do when, AIW comes inside. Turns out they did have like, I think it was like 3 or 4 rows of chairs. But we were quick in, and we got front row seating, which is great. Pretty much it about that. I thought it worked out really well, and there was still like plenty of room to stand, and there was just a lot of people everywhere.
Yep.
All right, getting into the show, we did start things off with a 10-bell salute to Jay Briscoe. And, this wasn't just like one of those things where we're like, oh, we're going to just pay tribute to this, wrestler, but somebody who had actually been inside an AIW ring. He was here at Absolution 7 against Irish Airborne. And I know I did a meet and greet that day. I thought I got an autograph, but I must have just did a picture because I looked through all my 8x10s and I couldn't find one. But I'm happy with at least having the picture because I remember being like really excited that they were going to be there. And I didn't really ever get a chance to meet them again. I even think when I went to Supercard of Honor, which they were there, I don't think they were doing meet and greets. If they were, they might have been in one of the more booked ones because they had with Supercard of Honor, they had like 2 different times for autographs, and there was different roster of people. And like the second one was like filled with Bullet Club people, like the Young Bucks and Cody and Gorillas of Destiny, also Matt and Jeff Hardy. And there was like other people there, but because those lines were like so long, I don't remember a lot of the other people, but I don't think they were in the first batch. But did you go to Episode 7?
No, that was during the era of me not driving by myself to shows, even though I wanted to go. And I had like mentioned how much I wanted to see the Briscoes constantly, and then Thorne booked them, and I didn't get to go. So yeah, you're probably kicking yourself in the ass on that one. A little bit. I did get to see them live though, at All In. So, I mean, I did at least get to see them live once.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I wasn't sure if you were coming around then because I knew around that point it was like you were hit or miss. Like
usually it was if Jayhawk was available because he would drive, and I didn't drive to Cleveland. Wasn't comfortable with it. Now it's not a problem. I don't care.
Yeah. It's like I don't remember what shows you exactly went to because like how sporadic they were, but I thought you went to at least a lot of the episodes because you went to the one episode that I missed, which was 9.
Yeah, I didn't go to 10.
Ooh, that's a good one too.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, it was very sporadic. It seemed like only like the bigger shows is when I usually ended up going for a lot of it. So
yeah, then we actually did a retro review of Episode 7 back during COVID, like because I wanted to revisit that whole thing. And I remember when I was making images for the episode, I was like purposely trying to cover up the Confederate flags that they were wearing in some of the promotional stuff. And so it was like I just trying to like get around it, like, yeah, like they did this at one time, but let's just not focus on that per se. But nonetheless, actually, when the episode was recorded last week, I think it was like right before me and Dustin started recording, the news had come out of Jay Briscoe's passing. Dustin had a shout out to them towards the end, or towards Jay Briscoe, but it does suck. And wish the best for his family. I'm happy from a professional driver's point of view that like he wasn't at fault, because if it was like something dumb that he did, I would have been like, man, that it's like hard for me to sympathize with you if you did something stupid. But it turns out like no. As far as the reports I read, it was the other driver, distracted driver, and yeah, it just breaks my heart to hear not just losing of a wrestler, but losing of a father. And the wrestling world did come together. Last time, I heard they did hit the $200,000 GoFundMe-ish thing that they were doing, which I don't know if they went any higher, but I think that's awesome. And, we got to think of a lot of the other things that go into this, of funeral costs, medical costs, and then I'm not sure how much farming was their life, and taking him out of it, like how much that would hurt things. So I'm happy to hear the wrestling community came together and could help. Any other thoughts on Jay Briscoe?
No, man. Oh.
So yeah, that's how the show started off. And then, we did get into the very first match. Started things off with Philly Collins and Marino Tenaglia PME versus Hendrik Hawkins and Vic Vice H2V2, which I was hoping there was like some sort of compound that was actually H2V2 and they could be called that, but I looked it up and it's nothing. Like it's two hydrogen atoms, and I can't remember what V is off the top of my head, but there is an element that is V, and I thought that would be actually kind of cool, but whatever. What were your thoughts on starting off with this match?
Oh, this is a solid way to start off the show. Getting, since they're going to start teaming Hendricks and Vic together more often, obviously putting them in there with very experienced tag teams is going to be a great help with them. So, this was definitely a great test for them. And you can obviously tell, that they were still a little new, with some of the timing and stuff like that. But I think the overall, they had some really great moments in it. Their tag team, double team they did with the, rock bottom zigzag, that was pretty sweet. I don't know what they call it. I'm going to find out, hopefully next week. But it's pretty good stuff.
Yeah, I like the combination of Hawkins and Vice. They just seem to go together really well, and I'm interested in seeing how that team evolves over time. And I don't know, like, obviously what their bookings are outside of AIW, but I would guess there could potentially be more like single stuff, and that's fine. Because again, I've said before about like the evolution of all these wrestlers, but like these two being put together makes a lot of sense. And there's a bit, and it's not 100%. It kind of reminds me of Shawn and Diesel. Like Vic's kind of more of a Shawn and Hawkins is more of a Diesel. Like it's not 100% perfect. Like obviously, like, Hawkins isn't 7 foot tall in the same kind of style, but like there's just kind of like this style dynamic I get with them. Is that just me, or how are you feeling about that?
I mean, they definitely complement each other.
Yeah.
I know that they're working on getting matching gear and working on merch and stuff like that as well. So I mean, they're definitely in it for the long haul. I think that we've always had a strong tag division in AIW, especially in the last 3 to 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously adding to that's going to be a good thing. And Hendricks even said he enjoys tag team wrestling more now because of this. So I mean, that's pretty sweet that he enjoys that more. So now he gets to be in a tag team and that kind of thing. And I mean, that's it's never a bad thing to have another tag team out there, because you can always have them as singles, but having them as a tag team, there's lots they can do.
And then to go up against PME, definitely one of the top tag teams in AIW. I mean, granted, they're not champions now, but over the past few years, they've held the titles a few times. So this was really tough competition for them. But unfortunately, Marino did pin Vic Vice for the win to pick up the victory for PME. Any final thoughts on that match?
I know it was a really good opener, and it got things going and hyped and moving along for the night.
Completely agree. Let's move on to the next one. Match number 2 saw Kayla Cassidy versus Ziggy Haim, and Ziggy coming out there just breaking fist with all the fist bumps. My hand's still recovering from it, but this was something that we talked about in the preview of, we haven't seen a lot of singles wrestling out of Ziggy, and in the women's division, it's been, next to nothing, and like nothing in front of a regular AIW crowd. And granted, this isn't the most regular, like this isn't the Odeon or everything, but compared to Go for Broke and to Canton shows, this is like the closest she's gotten to that. So this was really interesting to see. And I'm wondering if, going forward in this year, will we see more of Ziggy in, singles matches?
I mean, we're adding a lot of these secondary shows where it's not going to be, like, as we call them, like they're not a main show. So they're going to be like your Winchesters, your Outposts, that kind of thing. Maybe same with like the Youngstown with the bowling alley. If we keep getting shows like that, I could see them adding more chances for people to do like stuff like that and have her wrestle singles instead of just being there with Derek. That kind of stuff. I could see her getting more opportunities and doing different things because you want each of these smaller cards to be different and unique and not just be the same old stuff. So you get to try different things and, you know, see if something sticks. If it doesn't, you know, try something else, that kind of stuff. So I think it makes a lot of sense.
And the one thing I noticed too is Jocelyn was not booked on this card, but she was there. She was in the crowd for maybe all the matches, but I only heard her in a couple. But in particular with this one that I liked, you know, she came out there and like put out her fist when Ziggy came out to get fist bumped. So there was this really cool like layer of respect within the division, because when it comes down to it, like that's our two regular women. We have some that kind of fall outside of that, and I don't know whether they're just not around right now or what it might be, but like you can expect Jocelyn and Ziggy to be pretty much either on every show or at every show. So a lot of people want that division to be something, and I do think we're like far away from that being what it was, but to have at least those two women to count on is pretty awesome. And Ziggy having this match was a bit of a showcase for her, because like I said, we haven't even seen her in a singles match since the Bill Alfonso show, or her Bill Alfonso match, I should say. What were your thoughts on Kaylee Cassidy?
She definitely could draw with the crowd, so that was good. I mean, she did pretty decent. I thought she did okay.
Yeah, I think coming into this, like we were all like so behind Ziggy that like she knew that we were going to be against her. And I do think she handled that really well. I do want to see more from her. That she was somebody that like the name was familiar, but like I couldn't tell you every place I've seen her or anything like that. But now like, okay, I've seen her live once. We'll see what happens next. Thoughts on the match as a whole?
This fit right in with everything else. You know, I think you kind of mentioned, thinking we were going to have this start off the show. So with it coming out second, you were pretty close to that. And it just kept the momentum rolling.
Yeah, I didn't necessarily mention it here, but I mean, I thought this was kind of like where we were going to start. It was the first match to announce, but I know that doesn't mean shit. But something just felt like this would be like a great place to start. But having it be in the second match, still fine. And I also have no issue with the tag team match starting things off. I've said it before. I generally like everybody in the IW, and getting to see a lot of them more and more and seeing them evolve. Like I'm a huge fan of that. So like going into this show and seeing like that tag team match start off, it's like, okay, obviously, you know, PME is great. Now we get to see them go up against this new team that's literally just formed very recently, and they just debuted under a year. So what are we going to get out of these guys? So having this now with Ippy Ziggy versus Kayla, this was definitely, you know, Ziggy showing up, and I think she did a very good job. I feel like she was limited a little bit. I don't know what, maybe just because I'm used to seeing her being a little more unhinged, but I think giving another opportunity, another match, whether it be versus a man or a woman, I think she will step up. Like I think there's a part of me that's like waiting for her to go up against somebody like way bigger, somebody maybe Sam Holloway, like that kind of dynamic. But we'll see. If there's no other thoughts on this match, it was Ziggy pinning Kayla for the win. Let's move on to the next one. Next, we saw Sid Von England versus Dominic Garrini. Now, we did not cover this in the preview because the match hadn't been announced yet. And I thought with the number of matches that were announced, like that was going to be it. Turns out, you know, one short, but I don't know how much would have been added in a preview for this. But Sid versus Dom. I've said it before and I'll say it again. As a singles wrestler, I do love Sid. When he gets to show off like this, I think it's obviously a really good thing for him. You had some complaints during this match. I know it because we were sitting next to each other and heard you. So thoughts on this match?
I don't remember my complaints for this match. What were my complaints?
One in particular, I remember Sid did something. You're like, oh, but somebody does it better.
Oh, he was doing the finger snap,
yeah,
which is like a British staple. Like, I get it. Like, it's a British staple type move where like you get the snap and like it looks bad. And, he did like the stretching of the hands and stuff like that. Zack Sabre does it. A guy that is canceled used to do the snap really well. I mean, it's whatever. Like, I wasn't really bitching about it. I was just kind of making an offhand comment, but I still like really enjoyed this match. This match was a lot of fun, and their styles meshed really, really well, and it made for a really fun match. This is probably one of my favorites of the night.
I think this was probably my dark horse favorite, to where, if I were to look at all the matches on the card, I wouldn't have had this high on my list, but it did a lot better than that. I won't put it as my favorite because there's actually another match later in the night that for me was definitely match of the night, and I have the reason for it, and it was not the main event. But which I don't know why you're laughing. It's not. I know what your match of the night. I think I know what your match of the night is, but
you absolutely know what my match of the night was.
But
absolutely, yeah.
My match of the night is not that match of the night. Well, it's not that same match, I should say. So yeah, we'll get into that, and yeah, I can't wait to hear your reaction on your match of the night. But anyway, oh yeah, Sid and Dom absolutely killed it. I want to see more from Sid in AIW. I feel like for various reasons, like he's not someone we see on every show, but I want to see more consistency, but I don't know exactly every reason for that. Anything else to add?
Dom's pile driver always looks super gross when he hits it on people, and it got a massive pop when he hit it too. And it wasn't even the finish.
And it wasn't even the finish. It was Dom pinning Sid for the win.
That muscle buster. Still waiting on that Dom Joe match. Just saying.
Book it, Tony Khan.
Now I'm just going to yell at Thorne's Twitter account constantly for him for all the stuff like, now I really want Kaplan versus Q, and I yelled at him on Twitter that I want that match. I want Dom versus Joe. There's lots of stuff I want. I'm just gonna just bug him on there. I mean, it works because we got X-Pac now coming in March, so bugging him enough, maybe we'll get everybody else I want, or he'll just block me. One of the two.
What if I can get ICP back? That's still like my favorite booking he's ever done.
That was a wild one. And that's another one I regret not getting photos with.
ICP.
Yeah, why not, man? Fuck. I've listened to him since I was a kid. It would have been so fucking cool. I don't know why I flaked on so many meet and greets constantly. Like you have a stack of 8x10s. I have a stack of regrets of not doing the fucking meet and greets at these shows. Like constantly, I have fucking regrets. That's why, I want Rhino to come back for another one-off because he was there doing autographs and photos, and I did not get a photo with Rhino, and I would love to have a photo with Rhino and an autograph. So,
not only do I have a photo with Rhino, I have him photobombing me with another photo.
So yeah, it's really bad. I don't understand what goes through my mind. That's why I told you I was like, from now on, if I got that gut instinct, like, I kind of want that photo, it's happening now. From now on, I'm not gonna have these regrets anymore because they suck. And yeah, I don't want to do that no more.
I don't know if I have any regrets. I miss Terry Funk, but that was on my work. That's a different regret. It's not like, oh, I lucked out or not lucked out. I chose not to do it, and I really wish I would have. It's no, right. I tried, and I've been to 2 other things that he was supposed to be at, and it was kind of like, well, if he shows up, I'll get everything there. One was in Philly, the other one was WrestleCon, and he had to cancel both of those. And I'm obviously not mad at all because he was never my top person at each of those shows. I'm still more mad at my old company that I worked for fucking me over and not getting me to the venue till after intermission. And I mean, I talked to Terry Funk for 2 seconds when he walked up the stairs and asked for where the restroom was. And me and another guy who was canceled pointed him in the right direction. And then he went off for the night, and I'm not one of the cool people that got an update of where they were partying with Terry Funk. So, yeah, I didn't really get to meet him. So that is a regret, but I think everybody else, like, if I like them enough, I was just like, yeah, I'm doing it. Anybody else, it's been like I passed on Harley Race only because like I was never really a huge Harley Race guy, and on top of it, like I didn't like how he looked. Like when you get some people that are just like are really close to death, and it's just like, it's not how I want to remember them. Same thing with like Bobby Heenan when I was in Philly and saw him, like it's like I don't want to remember Bobby Heenan like that. I want to remember the 90s Bobby Heenan. Like, I love that Bobby Heenan, not this one that, like, it was just sad looking at him. But other than
I guess I would have at least gotten an autograph because at least, the autograph isn't going to.
Yeah, true.
Do that. But it could have been on, like, one of his photos from the 90s. And that would have been good. He's definitely one that I wish was still around to have at a show because holy shit, would he be fun.
Yeah. I mean, that leads into a different conversation that I've thought of, think of like all the wrestlers that passed away, probably like pre 2011 or 2010 that really missed out on like WrestleCon and comic book conventions or conventions in general. Like, dude, Bam Bam would make a fucking killing, I think.
Him, Mike Awesome, Test. There's a lot of them, man.
Earthquake. Potentially even Yoko. Like there's a lot that Chris Candido. I think Chris Candido would have wrestled a lot longer too. That's a dude that I think could potentially have been something like Shane Douglas, of like a guy who's not officially retired, but like, he's not getting the same kind of bookings. Right.
He's doing a walk and brawl, for AIW every so often.
Yeah, like Chris Candido for J-Lid. Like that would be like a cool thing. But there's like a whole bunch of people that I think of like that just flat out missed out on that era. Like even he falls right around that cutoff is Macho Man. Like Macho Man would have made a killing.
Oh, for sure. I think Macho Man would have been my like number one like meet and greet besides Stone Cold. I think those two are would have been my 1 and 2 for meet and greets. That I would absolutely go to if it was somewhere close to me. I would go to it and spend whatever to get an autograph and a photo. So still hoping for Stone Cold one day. That'd be pretty sweet. Somewhere like Steel City or something in Cleveland, something like that. So I can go and get the autograph and the photo. That'd be really cool.
I'm trying to figure out who I have left to like meet that I really want to meet. Like I've met a lot of my like upper tier people. Like literally the only 2 people I can think of, and I'm hesitant on both of them for obvious reasons, but I don't know what opportunity I'd ever have to meet them. And that's Kane, because I grew up loving Kane, and Vince. Like I know like Vince is a piece of shit, but there's a part of me that would love to like meet him and kind of thank him for like all that he kind of did for me. Without him doing some of the things he did in professional wrestling, like I don't know where I'd be.
Yeah, I'd just rather not think about that. But another one, Malachi Black. He was at AIW. Down on him.
I will say that I don't think he had a gimmick table, though. Like, if you wanted anything with him, you had to wait. Granted, you had to wait till after the show, but like, I know he didn't have a gimmick table. But there were people that did wait after the show. And like at that point, I think it was rumored he was going to WWE, but I don't think it had been confirmed yet. So,
yeah, that's another one of those. He wanted to face Ray Rowe, and I was like, hey, AIW, book this match. And literally it was booked within like a couple weeks. And I was like, motherfucker. And I couldn't go.
Was that more of a work one?
Most of the time I ended up having to work, but like, honestly, any of my times that I had to work, I could have switched if I knew that Jayhawk could go.
Yeah.
Because my work was very good about letting me switch with whoever I want, like my people would switch with me. So, because we had a really like family knit electronics group at Walmart. So like we were very good about switching each other's shifts whenever we needed it. And I could have gotten any day I needed off. To do that, I could have got that Friday off. It wouldn't have been a problem. I wasn't driving by myself up to Cleveland at that time. So
I think you need to get a tattoo that says no regrets.
And then he was supposed to be at the Wrestling Under the Stars, and then that's when he took his time off from AEW. So missed him there too.
Maybe this year.
Maybe. I mean, at least I got my Pentagon. I got to see him and get a photo with him when he was at AIW and the first time. And then he was at Wrestling Under the Stars, and I was going to have him sign my figure, and I didn't have him sign it because I thought they'd be there at intermission, and then they didn't come out at intermission. So,
oh, that's another big thing. Yeah, like sometimes like you have to get it when you can.
Yeah,
because they might not come back for intermission. Because I know that's something that I've kind of had to deal with. Either like I'd rather be first in line for seats, so when the doors open, I'm able to run to the gimmick tables and get shit done quick. Because when you get like stuff like, you know, Johnny Gargano's like final time in the AIW, you know, before he went to WWE, and then there was like a few other meet and greets, like maybe I was gonna say the Young Bucks, but no, the Young Bucks wasn't a big meet and greet. But there's, you know what I mean? There were some that like had these like long ass lines. Scott Hall the first time, long ass line. Second time, long ass fucking line. Even like he was still signing, I thought, when the show started, because like there was just so many people. Yeah,
that was. I definitely was excited for the Scott Hall one. I got my photo with him. That's one I knew I had to do. Because Scott Hall's always been one of my favorites, especially Razor Ramon, and that's the photo I had him sign with him with the Intercontinental belt as Razor Ramon. That's one of my favorite autographs I got. Zack Sabre Jr., luckily I got to see him, and I specifically remember waiting in line to meet him and standing in front of Ethan Page's table and kind of like sort of making small talk with him, and felt bad that I was like standing in like people's way of like I have very good etiquette when it comes to like waiting on wrestlers to talk to them if I'm not going to buy anything and stuff like that, and like standing off to the side so that they can still, you know, people can come up, get their stuff, get them signed. He can take time with them, and then we can continue our conversation. I'm very good about that because I don't want to take money out of their pockets.
Oh yeah.
And like, so I felt really bad about standing in front of him, even though there was no other place to stand because it was so packed. Because I think Gargano had a massive line because he was on NXT TV at that time. I want to say, was that was the Zack Sabre Jr. Dom match, right? No, this was Zack Sabre against whoever the champ was, which I think was who was the champ at the time? Is that J-Pro? I want to say it was Ethan Page for some reason, but I don't think that's right. The only time I remember Zack Sabre Jr. at AIW was the Dom match. Yeah, he had that one, but he had he was there like 3 times. I was gonna say, was he at AIW versus the World or Bloodsport? Trying to see if I can. I know with, you know, that whole etiquette thing, that's something I try to do. Because like guys like Ethan Page, Johnny Gargano, and, you know, they were, you know, wrestling at AIW a lot. I would like go up and do like some small talk, but anytime I saw someone was behind me, you know, I would, you know, either step out of the way or just like leave completely. Just like, hey, you know, wanted to say, hey, I didn't look at taking money out of their pocket. I looked at more of the person who was behind me. Like, I don't want to sit there and take up their time that they could be meeting whatever wrestler it is. Because that's always been my thing. That's like when, you know, Johnny was at Toy Hio, and only thing I wanted to do was just like say hi to him for a quick minute. And like one of the people like taking money and everything thought I was crazy for it. And it's just like, no, like, I'm not taking any money out of it. I try to like wait till like close to the end. So a lot of people went ahead of me, and I was just like, you know, just give me like a minute and I'll be fine. Just want to exchange pleasantries. And then I forgot to tell him that, his brother's, dad, was the DJ at my wedding at the reception. So I forgot to, like, anytime I've seen him, I forgot to mention that to him. So, that was, I think, the last time I did end up seeing him. So I was like, I want to throw that out there, you know, just say hi real quick. And that was that. So yeah, he was there 3 times. He faced, Lewis Linden, at Absolution and lost. Then he faced Ethan Page for the Absolute title and lost. And that's the one that I was at. And then he had the match with Dom. But the Dom was the first match, right? It might have been. Because I feel like that's in like reverse order. I'm trying to look through. Because I thought the first time he was there was the Dom match. Because that's when I got a picture with him. And like Zack Sabre Jr. didn't have like a big meet and greet line, I would say. Like he wasn't like, oh, you know, go over here for this. Like he was just like a regular gimmick table person. That's the one way to put it. Because there are the people that, you know, they have a table set up for them for back at Mount Carmel, you know, was by the entranceway. And, you know,
that's where you would create a big line.
Well, anyway, let's get back to the.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was about to say. I was waiting to see if you figured out like the exact order real quick before we moved on.
Nah, we can move on. It's not something major. We'll make everybody out there pull their hair out that they know the answer, and we didn't answer it, so it'll be fine.
Anthony Young versus Chase Oliver. This is the second time we've seen Anthony Young in AIW, and also I heard Dustin say it on commentary, like very early in the match. He said he's already lasted longer than he said more offense in this match than he did against Broner.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Anthony Young, unfortunately, is always put up against somebody in AIW that can dominate one way or another. This one, I mean, not as bad as Broner, but you have the Scramble God and a guy who could easily win a title in AIW right now. Thoughts on this match?
Chase obviously couldn't utilize any high flying stuff in this because of the low ceiling. So I already knew, I was like, all right, he's going to have to, hit that corner Death Valley driver that he does usually as a setup. And I was like, well, he's going to have to try to hit that to finish the match. And they went crazy with the technical wrestling and everything like that. They were all over the mat. I just remember the mat being so loud during this match, like them flipping around and doing stuff like on the mat and everything. And it was so loud. Yeah, that's the main thing I really remember.
I hope we get more of Anthony Young in AIW. I want to see him kind of in a scramble. We've seen him these one-on-one matches, but I think that's a dude that could really shine in a scramble match and put it in a venue that's not, with a low ass ceiling.
Yeah.
I got nothing else on this one. It was Chase pinning Young for the win, and Chase got a really nice picture in while I'm taking the results picture where he gives me a nice thumbs up. Let's move on to the next one. Got members only, Malcolm Cambridge and Calvin G. Lewis versus the Rip City Shooters, Wes Barkley and Joshua Bishop. Members only, mainly Calvin, did not care for the thumbs up for Bishop. I did get clarification on Twitter later that if it's not against them, they don't care. And I was like, you know what, that's understandable. But this was my match of the night. And one of the reasons is this was announced that it was going to be under intense rules. But the match, for the most part, was like a regular tag team match. And, pretty much Rip City controlling most of the match. And then Calvin ends up going outside and grabbing some chairs and using them. And at this moment is when it really kicked in more intense rules. And that's why, for me, it was the match of the night, because they did such a good job of putting that out of my mind. And just, I'm like thinking like, oh, it's a regular tag team match. To then just be like, fuck this. We have to get weapons. We have to use a chair. We have to find a way to, take Bishop down. Mostly Bishop, unfortunately.
Well, yeah, because they started off actually pretty hot and actually were kind of showing up Rip City to begin with before they kind of got, worn down a little bit. So when they pulled out the weaponry, I'm like, okay, here we go. And they delivered, I don't know, 10 fucking chair shots to Bishop, and I had a really great line of the night. Confetti came out of the
I forgot about that.
The ceiling or something.
Yes.
And Pam was sitting next to me, and she goes, "Where the hell did the confetti come from?" And I said, "From Josh's head, obviously," as he was getting smacked repeatedly in the head. So, yeah, it was pretty wild. And it just goes to show, like, members only, you think that would be like a squash against Rip City, but they held their own. And, they've advanced so much since from where they came, from where they started. And I think that just proves that the AIW tag division is just stellar. I mean, it wasn't anything to them to be able to go in there, and they didn't look out of place against, facing the absolute champion and Wes Barkley. So I thought that was very good. It was a very good showing for them.
I kind of thought, like, right before we got the chairs, that what we were seeing was more just like stamina from members only, of like, yeah, we can't outpower you, but we're just going to get you tired. We're going to run you down that way to where then we can capitalize on it. Then the chairs came out, and I kind of did forget about the confetti thing, which I don't know how it came off on Fight Plus, but without a doubt, that did look cool as shit. to see the chairs being swung, and then there's almost like it was coming out of them. So,
yeah, absolutely. She's like, "Where'd the confetti come from?" It's from Bishop's head. We all lost it because that was just. I mean, he was just taking them right on top of the head, one after another, and confetti just started flying out of it. So
I forgot to look at their calendar and see like what shows were there recently that would get confetti stuck up there. But
honestly, it couldn't have even been from recently. Like, if you really think about it, like it could have been from New Year's. But honestly, like I remember there being times where like stuff would happen with doors and other stuff at the Odeon, and glitter and stuff would fall from, like confetti would fall from the ceiling. So like that shit just gets up in there and is just there until it falls. So I mean, that's, who knows for how long that stuff was up there, and just the wafting from the chair was able to loosen it and send it flying into the crowd and the ring.
Yeah, I still wondered what the hell it was. What got it up there? I know when I've been there for ICP, that obviously like everything like lands on the floor because it's fucking Fago. And I do know when at the end of the night when some of the workers, I don't want to say they were complaining, but they were like, "Oh, make sure everything's cleaned up." I was thinking, I've seen this place look a whole hell of a lot worse than what it looks like right now. Like I have pictures of what the outpost looks like after ICP, and I'll put it like this: because of how small that venue is, like Fago probably doesn't go past where we were sitting, so it's just a pool of Diet Fago up there. But anyway, so yeah, the once members only grabbed the chairs, it did take this to a different level, and we kind of saw a side of members only that we've never seen before. If we have, I don't remember, but this was no pun intended, a very intense members only, and I think against any other team they could have won, but not against the shooters. Any other thoughts on this match?
Nope.
It was Bishop pinning Calvin G. Lewis for the Rip City Shooters to pick up the win. After the match, they went to the bar, and kind of a big night of promoting the bar, the sales, and also they still had a Christmas ale. So I'm not sure how much of that was drank, but I think a lot of people were drinking that night. After this, we did go to intermission, kind of talked about anything about that. And then we came back to this match. Tyson Riggs versus Kaplan. You wanna take it from here?
So Tyson Riggs came out and was having a student hand out his pamphlets or his flyers for the school. And then Kaplan came out. He said, "No, you got to face my student first before you'll face me." Kaplan obviously just massacred the student within like 2 seconds. And then it was on. And Kaplan beat the ever-loving piss out of Tyson Riggs. I mean, he at one point was just straight fucking punching him in the chest. Like, Kaplan throws bombs to begin with. He was just throwing these bombs just right at his chest. He was like chopping him, and then he just stopped and was just like, fuck that, and was punching him in the chest. And Stacy and I were laughing hysterically the entire time. I was crying. I was laughing so hard at the beating that Tyson Riggs was taking. Kaplan said he was going to beat the shit out of that twink, and he absolutely did. Holy fuck, this match was a really fun ride. I highly recommended it to Jay Gold to watch because he didn't get to see it live. So he went back and watched it and agreed that it was ridiculous how bad Kaplan beat the fucking shit out of Tyson Riggs.
How was he not watching it live? He was tweeting about it.
There was, I guess, some point he wasn't watching a chunk of it live. Like he had to, I don't know if he was going somewhere, driving somewhere, something. I don't know. Because he had to go back and watch it because he missed it. Okay. Yeah, because I obviously wasn't following his tweets in real time, but I know I had seen some and I thought they were, right around showtime. And he also like promoted like a live watch along. So I figured, yeah, he was watching the whole thing live. But anyway. I have no idea what he was doing.
Yeah, I mean, this was just Kaplan beating the piss out of Tyson Riggs, but I think that's kind of what we expected.
For sure. I mean, that's what I expected. Like, I knew that, like, Tyson had absolutely zero chance to beat Kaplan, the Bill Alfonso hardcore champion. Like, come on. Like, what? He didn't even, like, he showed, like, one little, like, glimmer, like, that he might try to do something, and it just didn't do nothing.
Yeah, it was Kaplan pinning Tyson for the win. Let's move on to the next one. Lewis Linden versus what many have called my favorite student, Shaw Mason. And this showed kind of, Lewis Linden's like still has that ability in him. I think it's something that like a lot of people forget about. Like I low-key love Lewis Linden.
When Lewis Linden came out, he had them turn up his entrance music.
Yes.
Which was absolutely ridiculous. Shaw Mason just continues to impress me with how he adapts to these matches. Like, he doesn't have like any, like you'll see in like some of the new guys matches where like they'll have like a couple like slip ups or like, something doesn't go just right, and there you can kind of tell they're like trying to figure it out. I don't see that with Shaw very often, if at all. Like, he's like on point the whole damn match. It seems like, and him and Lewis Linden, they gelled real well together and put on a really compelling match. Like, I got into it towards the end, and like it was pretty enjoyable. Like, I like to see Shaw work on some different stuff, like maybe some different moves other than the handful he does very, very well. But I like to see him expand that repertoire a little bit instead of just going right for that ankle lock constantly. There's lots of submission holds you could run right into and roll into from that. So
hey, he's doing what he's been told. Grab a hold and
Well, I'm just saying, like we've seen him, a handful of times. Like you've seen what he does very well with what he's doing now, and a lot of wrestlers, they always try to expand and improve, and I think that he's obviously doing just fine. He can expand and improve at any point in time and do different things. I think that he's playing it safe right now, but I feel like he can absolutely do more. And I'm not saying he needs to like go out and just do a completely different like move set, but I feel like he can add things here and there that I think would enhance his matches. And so they're not so like he goes from this move and then he does this move and then he does that move. And like, yeah, it's good to have those moves, but like, let's see some variety. Like, like I know he's still very, very young in his career, and I'm sure he'll do tons of other moves, but like I like to see like, I don't know, some other submissions. I mean, he grabbed that ankle lock like 3 or 4 times during the match, and I feel like it's just a little bit much. I don't know. Just my opinion. Other than that, I really enjoyed the match. Like I said, they had great chemistry, and I got into the especially like about halfway through, I was really into the match, and thought the ending was really good.
Yeah, it was Shaw Mason pinning Lewis Linden, something that I don't know if it was caught on Fight Plus, but Shaw Mason falls backwards into a curtain, and like right at the right spot where right behind the curtain was an open door. So he's pretty much spilled to the outside, like literally outside. And I think that it goes with what Dustin was saying last week about how dumb Shaw could be. So kind of a funny little moment, but Shaw Mason picks up the win. Curious to see what 9 to 5 does after this. I'm obviously it's not going to necessarily hurt 9 to 5, but is Lewis Linden going to come back for revenge? Is where's Shaw Mason going? But we got 2 shows coming up. Maybe we'll find out some answers. Maybe we won't. Let's move on to the next one. Cisco Silver versus Austin James. Your boy, Austin James.
My boy.
Yeah.
Our guest this week on the Indie Wrestling Guide, Austin James, aka Crazy Pants. Listen to the show to find out what that means. This match again. Cisco Silver is another guy that has had that series of matches with Shaw, and he just proved that, he can have those matches with Austin James as well. This was a pretty good match. I think that, I don't know. I feel like Austin James, should have kept that bat at ringside, might have come in handy at some point, but he didn't need it. Thank goodness he was still able to get the victory regardless. So good for him.
Spoiler alert.
My bad.
Well, it was Austin James pinning Cisco Silver. But anyway, I'm wondering if we're going to see more of these matches with Cisco going up against AIW graduate students, because, Cisco's been around a little while, maybe not as seasoned as other wrestlers in the area, or even, even within the company. It just, like Derek, for example. But this helps some of the students get a little better at the same time.
Right. Like, it's very much what they've said like 8 million times on the AIW podcast, that, these shows are to help the students get reps in and stuff like that. And that's absolutely fine. Like, that's what these shows can be very enjoyable when you go in with the expectation of, seeing a lot of the students and seeing like some of the matches they're going to have with the people that are, that they have them up against. And they're very fun matches. I was, like I said, I had a very fun night. This was very fun to me all the way through. Like, I didn't get bored or anything like that. It was a good night all the way through. It was a lot of fun. Each match had something different, and really enjoyed it.
Like, I don't even really think there was like a bad match on the card.
No, not really. I mean, I couldn't tell you one if you asked me to pick one. I mean, I enjoyed everything that we got. So,
all right, let's move on to the next one. Pretty Boy Smooth versus Sam Holloway. Smooth making his return to AIW since Absolution. And, since then, Absolution was before J-Lit. That's when Sam debuted. So this was kind of one of the most even matchups you'll see so far with Sam, of someone who's right around his height, right around his build. I think PB's just a little bit bigger and a little bit taller, but fairly even. And holy shit, did Sam's mom almost try to fight Smooth. even yelling at one point, kick his ass for real. And I was just like, what? But there's a lot of smack talk between his mom and Pretty Boy Smooth. It's enjoyable. I mean, obviously, luckily that Sam's mom didn't like try to do something, because that's when it's like, all right, like, it was funny, and now it's just, now you're dumb. But didn't cross that line, so good to see that. Thoughts on Smooth and Holloway?
Like I said, it's very evenly matched. I think the finish was, not great, but it's not on Sam. I think that it was delivered rather poorly. Other than that, I thought the match was fine. I thought like everything else was fine with it for the most part. So I think the ending kind of like made it fall flat for me, though. I think with it not like hitting the way it needed to hit, it looked very just weak and just not great. So it just kind of was like a fart in church at the end. But the rest of the match was fine. I enjoyed it.
I mean, going by what we've seen, though, we've seen worse.
Yeah, at least it wasn't a tombstone on the ramp.
Especially because there was no ramp, but no, same point. I think the biggest thing I got from this, because it was, Pretty Boy Smooth pinning Sam Holloway for the win, but I think, Pretty Boy Smooth is back. He even said it when he came out that he's back, but I mean, that at that point, I'm like, you could go away in like next month.
It felt like a threat, and I didn't like it.
But he seemed could this be the beginning of the return of Pretty Boy Smooth?
I'm not going to say anything. I'll be nice.
He's not a well-liked person among a portion of the fans. I don't have an issue with him, but I've heard complaints, and I was kind of like looking at his history. He just in AIW, like he's been through a lot of things that like just didn't stick right. Like 40 Acres was great, but that fell apart like every few months. Like literally, of everybody that was in it, the only people left was him and Jocelyn, and then they just decided to like dissolve it after Trey moved away. But the thing that I respect about him is he's always kind of trying to evolve one way or another. So I want to see what he does next in AIW. Because last time he was put in the situation.
As long as he doesn't wear a lampshade on his head at AIW, I think he'll be just fine.
I thought you liked the lampshade.
Nope. I think it's the silliest thing ever.
I don't necessarily have a complaint about it. It almost feels like it's just one of those things that you have a wrestler that'll do something in one place, but he might not do it other places. And I think for the most part of independent wrestling, that's confusing because normally
I get it. It's like his dark passenger. Okay. Like it's a thing that's been done by multiple people now. Obviously Balor has it. Danhausen has it. Leo Rush has it. So like he has a character like that too. That's fine. Whatever. It's not original, but it's whatever. So he comes out wearing a mask that, like, personally to me, when I saw it, I thought it just reminded me of a lampshade. And he doesn't even wear it for the match. It literally, he just takes it off, and it's just him wearing like all white. It's not even anything. I don't know. He didn't wrestle any different. It's whatever. I don't know. Like that it was just silly to me, personally. Now the PB we got at the Outpost. All right, fine. I keep it player. He's got the fur coat, doing the chapstick thing still. All right, like these are things that I do not mind. I think they fit him and they fit this character. So I mean that's absolutely fine. I don't care for his style of wrestling. I know he's a very big guy, and I think that he's very athletic, but it's not what I want to see. Like what he does is not what I want to watch. So that's just on me.
Yeah. Anything else to add to the match?
No, I just want to see more of Sam wrestling. I think that he had this match with a guy his size. Now let's see him against somebody small like that Irish Strong style kid or whatever that bugs me all the time. No, he doesn't really bug me. I'm teasing him.
All right. There's only one match left. If I'm correct. Let's move on to the main event of the evening. Match number 10. The Bitcoin Boys, the AIW Tag Team Champions, in a rematch for the titles against Bulking Season. And God, this crowd, do you feel like it was split or was it very pro Bitcoin?
There was a lot of Bitcoin, but then we also had Chuck's dad right next to us going crazy. So it definitely felt split. But the other side of the room was definitely for Bitcoin, and I was for Bitcoin. Personally, I think I know there was like some comedy in this, and like they did like a funny thing on the stage and stuff like that. Really enjoyed that. It really was something different. There's so many times we go into a heavy AIW show, we get to the main event, everybody's tired, then you're going to try to go and have like a fucking mat classic for 15, 16 minutes. And it's not the time and place for that to happen. So throwing in comedy, doing little things like that, throwing in some high spots, very much fit, kept the crowd going, kept the flow going, didn't feel tired at all, anything like that. They had their little bit with the Duke, et cetera, and then I'll let you go talk about the rest.
Yeah, I love the comedy spot of them brawling to the back and keep going back and forth between the curtains.
And then fighting each other. That was great.
Yeah. I almost thought we were going old school AIW, but since this hasn't happened in forever, where like a third person, or in this case, it would be a team, would get involved and be like, all right, now it's a triple threat. That did not happen. But we did have the Duke get, no pun intended, booted from the match. And then right as Bulking Season was about to go for the win, you had the Duke come out, hit Chuck Stone with the Haas boot. So, giving the win to Bulking Season. But obviously in professional wrestling, titles do not change hands. So Bitcoin Boys still your AIW Tag Team Champions. After this, the Duke and the Bitcoin Boys started to beat down on Bulking Season, but then Beastie Boys music hits, and out from the bar comes Rip City Shooters. So they come in for the save, run out Bitcoin and the Duke. At this point, Bulking Season and Rip City challenge the Bitcoin Boys and the Duke to a match. Well, if you do the math, they're down a person. And the Duke said he knew something like this was going to happen. So he paid for what's the exact wording he used? It wasn't like paid for, but he reserved the service of Derek Dillinger for the evening. So we went into what was match number 11, the Duke and the Bitcoin Boys with Derek versus Bulking Season and Rip City Shooters. And this shit went everywhere. There was literally a point where me and Charlie were like, as I know he put it at the time, we were all like on an island by ourselves because like on one side of us, we had brawling going. On the other side, there was another brawling going, and like there was like nowhere we could go. And I forgot to mention back during the Rip City members only match, there was a point where Josh Bishop got thrown into the crowd right by us, and as Josh Bishop was trying to get back up, he kind of kept kicking me like right in the head.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. I was laughing pretty good at that. Just kept kicking you right in the head.
I kept laughing too. So, but back to this match. Yeah, just shit's going everywhere. There's video online. You could see Josh and Derek fighting at the bar, and I think this is going to be a story going forward of there's still a rivalry between Derek and Josh. Like, yeah, Derek is now the Intense champion, but he never beat Josh for it. So there is this, what seems to be a competition of you can never beat me. And, it seems like Derek is a little resentful about that. So this is something it just feels like we're going to see going forward one way or another.
You don't have a no rope barbed wire match with somebody and get over it real easy when they beat you. So don't blame him.
Like Derek has the happy ending of now he's Intense champion, but like there's an asterisk to it. He's the champion, but he got it from Bishop saying, nah, I don't need this title anymore. I just need the absolute. So we see that in this match. Obviously, Bitcoin and Bulking Season, that feud's still going. Well, we definitely have not seen the end of that. Any thoughts on this part of the match?
Yeah, at one point it was literally Stacy on one side, you on the other, and me in the middle, as the chaos erupted around us. And nowhere to go, nothing to do, just stand there and try not to get hit. And it was pretty good, pretty fun.
At the end of the night, it was Bulking Season, both pinning the Duke to pick up the win for them and the Rip City Shooters. Then we ended the night with a toast with a guy who was also sitting with us in the front row, it was his bachelor party, came in the ring. They all, I think they were drinking Christmas lager or Christmas ale, but I don't remember. Nonetheless, end of the night, everybody goes home happy. Any final thoughts on the show?
Overall, this was a worthwhile night at the wrestles. I enjoyed it. I definitely would come back to the Outpost for another wrestling show, and can't wait for February 4th and February 11th, man. February is going to be super packed. Back-to-back weekends, wrestling shows, and I am all for it. I can't wait to see what else is announced for February 4th. And I know we already got Sandman announced for February 11th, which is a huge surprise. I was expecting some other people, but I mean, Sandman's going to be in attendance, which super stoked for that. Even though, he really can't wrestle, but can hit some people with the Singapore cane, and that's all that really matters. So that's dope.
Is he on your list of regrets?
So he did a signing at one point, and Jayhawk got me his autograph. So I have his autograph, but I don't have a photo with him. So I've never known that he was going to be at a show and missed out on it. So like, I know he was at Rager, but I didn't remember him being there. Like I wasn't paying attention to wrestling at that time, or for some reason I didn't see that. So I didn't really regret it. But it has done, it's obvious to me, like, obviously I do need to get a photo with him. So hopefully that does happen.
I wonder if I can find a Sandman ECW figure at Toy Hio that day.
I'd say your chances are pretty high. I mean, especially if you go into the Toy group and say you're specifically looking for that figure, somebody might be able to make sure that they have one available to you.
Yeah, I have to see how much it's going for, whether that's something I want to pick up. But we got those 2 shows, and then in March, Xbox was just announced, which we kind of covered already. But yeah. And then I got to figure out how I'm filling up episodes in between there, and I'm hoping there's not an early March show. Because I figured if there's an early March show, it's going to be like a Winchester.
I can tell you. Yes, March 2nd.
Son of a bitch. Okay. I guess I got to figure some shit out, because I might have an interview planned soon that I got to drop, and whether it'll be a bonus episode or whether it'll be a regular episode. All right. Any final thoughts or last minute plugs before we go?
Yeah, check out the Indie Wrestling Guide. This week we have Austin James on. We've also done interviews with Hendrix Hawkins and Big Sam Holloway. Also coming up after next week, we have Vic Weiss on February 1st. And then we're going to round it out with Shaw Mason. And February 22nd, 2/22, we're going to have 2 guests on. I can tell you who one of them is right now, and I'll let you try to figure out who the other is. The first guest that I'm going to announce for 2/22 is the Bone Collector, Dominic Guarini. So you can look forward to that, and there will be a second guest with him on that show as well. And then we're going to get back to reviews in March. We're going to review Enjoy, who we sponsored, their Enjoy Odyssey Battle Royal. If you like indie wrestling, check out Enjoy. It's free on YouTube. There's three shows for this season. There's multiple other seasons available that are all free, and there's lots of very good wrestling on all of them. Also check out If You Catch My Grift. I don't know when the next episode's dropping of that, but there's a update episode that's out that came out at the beginning of the month. And if you enjoy that, they have a Patreon, so join that and give the Grift Boys some money. That's all I got.
Man, I can't believe you're going to do an interview with Dominic Guarini and Gary the King Baller.
It is not Kevin Koo, by the way. Just letting everybody know. It's not Violence is Forever that we are interviewing. It's somebody else. Somebody that Dom may or may not have fought at JLIT last year. So, yeah. And we talked about this person on this show. So I'm just giving all kinds of hints away.
Yeah. Of course, you can find myself at jsummers330 on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and Hive, much like you can find the show on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, facebook.com/wrestlingcheers, twitter.com/wrestlingcheers, and instagram.com/wrestlingcheers. Email, if you so choose to desire, wrestlingcheers@gmail.com. And like I said earlier in this show, please rate, review, and subscribe your ever listen to this fine podcast, whether it be Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Amazon Music, or Podbean, wrestlingcheers.podbean.com. And all of those links can be found through the Linktree link in the podcast notes. Check out our podcast friends, such as Super Fantastic Podcast, It's Evolution Baby, The IndieCast, Sobros Network, Biff Radio, GameWorks Podcast, Power Bob Jitsu, Power Driver Podcast, Fully Posable, Positively Pro Wrestling, Indie Wrestling Guide, If You Catch My Grift, At Odds with Wrestling, Marks with Mikes, Juggalo Rewind, X-Over, This Ends at Prom, and Porch Talk. And check out our other non-podcasting friends, such as The Mystery Men, Redline Radio, Mouse's Wrestling Adventures, VHS Party Tonight on Instagram, Danger Zone Video in Joliet, Tennessee, Heart of Gold, Toy Hio Toy Show, Time Capsule Toys, Smokin' Jay's Barbecue, JCP Designs, Midwest Territory, Southern Underground Pro, and the official graphic designer of Wrestling Cheers, Moy Boy Designs. That will do it for us here on Wrestling Cheers, where everybody knows your name, especially when they're kicking you in the front row. Later.
It's the wrestling cheers. Get up on your feet, brightening your day in the middle of the week. And you gotta love the show. Yeah, you know it holds a title for the best podcast. Talking wrestling in Ohio. Finishing a cold one, take a load off. We ain't all about the prohibition like Josh, so we cheers. And then we sit back. Other shows are in the trash, kinda like they Nick Stapp. Like the name is Matt Justice, wearing all the gold. Wrestling Cheers is coming to a close. The #1 podcast going in the game. And one day everybody's gonna know the name. It's the Wrestling Cheers. This is Platinum Max, signing off. Ohio, good night. The world, good night. We love you. We'll see you next week.